Welcome to the pink side. My girlfriend said, just one weekend. Now I'm her new bestie. The rain tapped lightly against the window, casting a soft, rhythmic melody across our cozy apartment. I sat on the edge of the couch, nervously fidgeting with the cuffs of my shirt, watching Sarah move around the kitchen with that effortless energy she always carried. She had that glow when she was excited, a spark that drew everyone's attention, and today, that attention was fully focused on her latest idea. Sarah and I had been together for almost 2 years, and I thought I knew her inside out. But she had this uncanny ability to surprise me, to pull me into adventures I never imagined I'd be part of. And this weekend, her newest plan was no exception. "Ryan," she said, her voice teasing but serious, "I've got an idea for something fun. Something different. Just for the weekend. Trust me." I raised an eyebrow, trying to read her expression. She always had a way of making mischief look like genius. "What kind of idea?" I asked cautiously. "You'll see," she said, with a wink that made my heart skip a beat. She held up a small, neatly wrapped box. "It's a little experiment, a role reversal challenge. Just one weekend. I promise it'll be fun." I hesitated, my mind racing through possibilities. Sarah had never asked me for anything quite like this. I trusted her, yes, but the uncertainty gnawed at me. "A role reversal challenge?" I echoed, trying to sound nonchalant. She nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. I want you to experience things from my side. Dress up, experiment, get into my world for a bit. Just for fun. Just for a weekend." The words hung in the air, strange and tantalizing. I had always admired Sarah's boldness, her fearlessness. And deep down, I was curious. Part of me wondered what it would feel like to step into her shoes, literally and figuratively. But another part of me felt a flutter of anxiety, a whisper of doubt. I had dabbled in crossdressing before, though only in private. Sometimes it was curiosity, sometimes a form of escape from the pressures of daily life. But to do it openly, even for a weekend, was a different matter. It was a delicate balance between thrill and vulnerability, excitement and fear. Sarah noticed the hesitation on my face. She walked over and took my hand in hers, her touch warm and reassuring. "I promise, Ryan. Nothing crazy. Just a chance to play, laugh, and explore. You can say no if you want, but I think you'll enjoy it more than you realize." Her confidence was infectious. I found myself nodding slowly, my curiosity outweighing my apprehension. "All right," I said finally. "Just for the weekend." Her smile lit up the room, a mix of triumph and delight. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. "Perfect. You're going to have so much fun. And who knows? You might discover a side of yourself you never knew existed." The day moved quickly from there. Sarah unpacked the box, revealing an array of outfits, accessories, and makeup. Each item was carefully selected, as if she had planned this weekend down to the smallest detail. There were skirts, blouses, shoes, heels I had only seen in magazines, alongside makeup kits and hair accessories. My pulse quickened at the sight. I couldn't deny it. The thrill of the transformation, the thought of stepping into someone else's world, was exhilarating. And yet, the vulnerability lingered. How would I look? Could I pull it off? And more importantly, how would Sarah perceive me? She helped me choose my first outfit, guiding my movements with gentle encouragement. The skirt swished around my knees. The blouse clung to my shoulders in a way that made me acutely aware of every contour. I slipped into the shoes hesitantly, the heels unfamiliar and unsteady. Sarah steadied me, her fingers brushing mine as she adjusted the straps. "You're perfect," she said softly, her eyes sparkling. "You'll see. Confidence is everything." I looked at my reflection, a mixture of nerves and curiosity coursing through me. I hardly recognized myself, yet, at the same time, there was something thrilling about the reflection staring back. It was a version of me I rarely let anyone see, bold, playful, and slightly vulnerable all at once. The apartment seemed to transform alongside me. The cozy space took on a different energy, one charged with anticipation, mischief, and possibility. Sarah's laughter floated through the room, light and free, encouraging me to step further into this new experience. For the first time in a long while, I felt a surge of freedom. The ordinary world, with its expectations and judgments, felt distant. Here, in the safe bubble of our apartment, I could explore, experiment, and even play. And as I glanced at Sarah, her eyes full of warmth and encouragement, I realized that this weekend was going to change more than just my wardrobe. It wasn't just about the clothes or the makeup. It was about trust, exploration, and the unspoken connection between us. The challenge she had proposed carried an undercurrent of transformation, not just of appearance, but of identity, of perspective. And as I took a deep breath, ready to embrace the weekend, a small thrill of anticipation coursed through me. Little did I know, this just one weekend experiment would shift the dynamics of our relationship, blur the lines between reality and play, and uncover parts of myself I had never dared to explore. By the time Sunday evening arrived, I wouldn't just be Ryan. I would be Sarah's new bestie in ways neither of us could have predicted. The weekend began with a mix of excitement and hesitation. Sarah had left me in the bedroom for a few minutes, giving me time to change into the first outfit she had picked out. I stared at the mirror, my heart hammering in my chest. The skirt she had chosen was soft and pleated, swaying slightly as I moved. The blouse was delicate, almost fragile, and I felt the unfamiliar brush of fabric against my arms. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted the collar, trying to find the balance between looking decent and not laughing at myself in the process. Sarah peeked into the room, a mischievous smile lighting up her face. "Ready?" she asked. Her tone was playful, yet there was a spark in her eyes, an unspoken challenge. I nodded, feeling a mix of embarrassment and thrill. "I think so," I said, my voice slightly higher than usual, betraying my nerves. She stepped closer, picking up a small makeup kit she had laid on the dresser. "Let's start with a little foundation," she said. "Just enough to even out your skin tone." Her hands were steady and confident as she applied the makeup, and I felt an odd mix of vulnerability and exhilaration. It was intimate, personal, and strangely comforting. As the minutes passed, she added eyeliner, mascara, and a soft blush. Each stroke transformed me gradually. I barely recognized the reflection staring back. It wasn't entirely me, yet it was undeniably a version of myself I had never seen. "Now the finishing touches," she said, holding up a wig with soft curls cascading down. "This will complete the look." I swallowed hard, feeling a flutter of anxiety. The wig felt strange as it was placed on my head, the curls brushing against my shoulders. I tilted my head, adjusting it carefully, trying not to look ridiculous. Sarah stepped back, hands on her hips, and her eyes sparkled. "You look amazing," she said. "I knew you would. Confidence is everything, remember?" Her words were reassuring, but my mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet there was an undeniable thrill in the reflection before me. The skirt swished with every step, the heels made my movements slightly awkward, and my chest tightened with anticipation. We moved into the living room, where Sarah had set up a small photo shoot area. She insisted on taking a few pictures to capture the transformation, and I couldn't help but blush as she snapped photos, adjusting my pose and posture. The camera lens felt invasive yet thrilling. Each click of the shutter amplified the suspense, making my heart race faster. After the photos, Sarah suggested we try a few activities she had planned, a mix of playful challenges and scenarios that pushed me further into this new persona. First was a mini fashion show around the apartment. I walked across the living room, my steps careful, the heels making soft clicks on the hardwood floor. Sarah clapped and cheered, her excitement contagious. "You're a natural," she exclaimed. "Honestly, you might even enjoy this more than you think." I laughed nervously, my cheeks flushing. "I'm definitely stepping out of my comfort zone," I admitted. Sarah's laughter was light and encouraging. "Exactly. That's the point. Just have fun." As the afternoon unfolded, I moved deeper into the experience. We tried makeup tutorials, hairstyling, and even casual photo shoots around the apartment. Each activity was a mix of excitement and anxiety, the thrill of transformation intertwined with the fear of looking foolish. Yet, with Sarah guiding me, the vulnerability became less intimidating and more empowering. By the evening, I felt a shift within myself. The initial hesitation had transformed into a curious confidence. I moved with more ease in the heels. The skirt felt less foreign, and the makeup didn't feel like a mask but an extension of expression. Sarah noticed the change immediately. "You're getting the hang of it," she said with a proud smile.
See?
This isn't just about the clothes or makeup. It's about how you carry yourself, how you embrace the moment. Her words resonated deeply. I realized that this experiment wasn't just a playful weekend challenge. It was an exploration of identity, confidence, and trust. Each moment of transformation, each flicker of self-awareness, brought me closer to understanding a side of myself I had kept hidden. But with a thrill came a shadow of suspense. Every sound in the apartment made me jump slightly. Every unexpected knock or ring of the phone heightened my anxiety. The thought of Sarah seeing me revert to my normal self, or worse, someone else walking in, kept my senses sharp. The stakes, though playful, felt real in their intensity. Sarah suggested a final challenge for the night, a small outing to the nearby cafe, just to test my confidence outside the apartment. My heart pounded at the idea. Being seen in public, even in a casual setting, escalated the suspense. But Sarah's reassuring presence and the growing confidence I felt nudged me forward. As we stepped out, the cool evening air hit my skin, the soft glow of streetlights reflecting off the wet pavement. Every glance from passers-by felt magnified, every whisper of wind against my heels a reminder of my vulnerability. Yet the thrill of being seen, of embracing this new persona, was intoxicating. Sarah held my hand tightly, guiding me through the small crowd. "You're doing amazing," she whispered. "Own it. You're incredible." And for the first time, I truly believed her. The initial fear and hesitation had evolved into a complex mix of excitement, empowerment, and suspense. The weekend was only beginning, and already I could feel the tides of transformation reshaping not just how I looked, but how I experienced myself and the world around me. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, painting the room in soft gold. I woke with a strange mix of anticipation and dread. Sarah was already up, humming softly as she arranged a small breakfast tray. Her energy was infectious, but it also reminded me of the challenge ahead. Today's tasks, she had promised, would push me further into this new identity. I slipped out of bed and moved to the bathroom, catching a glimpse of myself in the mirror. The previous night's transformation still lingered in my mind. The skirt, the heels, the wig. I realized that this experiment wasn't just about appearances anymore. It was testing my comfort zones, my sense of self, and my willingness to embrace vulnerability. Sarah knocked lightly before entering. "Ready for today?" she asked, her eyes twinkling with mischief. I hesitated for a moment. "I think so," I replied, though my voice betrayed my nervousness. She handed me a new outfit, a sleek dress in a soft pastel shade, paired with matching heels. "This one's a little bolder," she said, "but I know you can pull it off." As I dressed, the familiar mix of excitement and anxiety returned. The fabric hugged my frame differently than the skirt from yesterday, the heels made my steps feel slightly precarious, and the wig Sarah had chosen for today was longer, more dramatic. I ran my fingers through the curls, feeling the unfamiliar weight on my head. "Looking stunning," Sarah said, snapping a few photos to capture the moment. Her encouragement was both comforting and nerve-wracking. I felt like I was performing, yet every click of the camera deepened my connection to this new version of myself. Breakfast was a quiet affair, punctuated by small conversations and glances at my reflection in the spoon. I caught myself adjusting the hem of the dress, smoothing out wrinkles, and checking my posture. Each movement reminded me of the delicate balance between appearance and authenticity. Sarah suggested a morning outing, a walk to the nearby park where we could test my confidence in a public setting. My heart raced at the thought. The idea of being seen by strangers, even for a brief moment, added a thrilling tension I hadn't anticipated. As we stepped outside, the crisp morning air brushed against my skin. Every pedestrian glance, every passing car felt magnified. I focused on maintaining poise, letting the sway of the dress and the rhythm of the heels guide my movements. Sarah stayed close, her presence a reassuring anchor. We reached a small cafe on the corner, where Sarah had arranged for a quick photo shoot outside. I hesitated at the door, suddenly hyper-aware of potential onlookers. "Just a few photos," she whispered. "We'll be quick, and then we can relax." I nodded, taking a deep breath. The first few clicks of the camera made my stomach churn, but as Sarah guided my poses, I began to settle into the role. My movements felt more natural, my posture more confident, and for brief moments, I forgot the anxiety entirely. But the suspense never fully left me. A couple of teenagers walking past paused to glance, and I felt my heart skip. Would they recognize me later? Would someone I knew see me like this? The thrill and fear intertwined, creating a dizzying emotional cocktail. Returning home, Sarah suggested a series of challenges inside the apartment. Makeup tutorials with stricter guidelines, hairstyling that required patience and precision, and posture exercises to enhance my feminine walk. Each task was designed to push my comfort limits, and each time I faltered, Sarah's encouragement reminded me why I was participating. By mid-afternoon, I noticed a change in myself. The reflection in the mirror no longer startled me. I moved with a cautious grace, my confidence growing with each small victory. Sarah's praise was no longer just reassurance. It was validation that this new identity was an extension of me, not just a temporary costume. Yet, shadows of anxiety lingered. The idea of reverting to my old self, of losing the persona I had begun to embrace, created an internal tension that was almost unbearable. Every unexpected sound in the apartment, an email alert, a neighbor's footsteps, the creak of a floorboard, kept me on edge. Sarah noticed my slight tension and suggested a break. "Let's relax for a bit," she said, handing me a soft robe. "You've done amazing so far. Let's just breathe." As I sank into the sofa, I reflected on the past 24 hours. The thrill of transformation, the vulnerability of being exposed, and the subtle empowerment I felt were all intertwined. This weekend was no longer just a playful experiment. It was a journey into self-discovery, identity, and trust. But the suspense remained, a constant undercurrent. What would happen when Sarah introduced me to her friends? What if someone outside recognized me? Each thought sent a shiver down my spine, and yet the excitement was addictive. Sarah leaned over, brushing a stray curl from my face. "You're incredible," she whispered. "And tomorrow, we take it even further." My heart raced at the promise. The anticipation of new challenges, combined with the fear of being caught or exposed, created a tension I couldn't ignore. Every glance, every movement, every decision was heightened by the suspense of transformation and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The evening settled over the city with a soft, amber glow, and the apartment felt simultaneously cozy and tense. Sarah suggested a private dinner at home, but with a twist. She wanted me to serve as her girlfriend for the night, handling not just the cooking but also the presentation, table setting, and even small gestures of charm. I hesitated at first. The idea of performing these intimate, traditionally feminine roles filled me with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Each movement felt scrutinized, every gesture weighed with significance. Sarah smiled at me knowingly, sensing my inner turmoil. "You can do this," she said softly, giving me a reassuring squeeze on the shoulder. I stepped into the kitchen, slipping into a delicate apron over the dress I was still wearing from earlier. The scent of spices and simmering sauces filled the room, but my attention kept drifting to my reflection in the window, catching glimpses of myself in the dim light. The soft curves of the dress, the subtle sway of the skirt, and the careful application of yesterday's makeup all reminded me of how far I had come, and how far I still had to go. As I plated the dishes, Sarah observed from the counter, her gaze both encouraging and critical. "Remember, confidence," she said. "It's not just about the food. It's about the presence. Every step I took felt heightened. My heels clicked softly against the kitchen tiles, each sound echoing like a metronome, reminding me that I was performing a role, walking a line between my normal self and this new persona. I adjusted my posture, straightening my back, keeping my movements fluid yet deliberate. The thrill of transformation mingled with the anxiety of being caught in this private performance. Dinner was served in the living room, a small table set with care, candles flickering gently. Sarah's eyes lit up as I brought the plates, setting them with precision and grace. The small gestures, tucking a napkin, offering a glass of wine, felt foreign yet strangely empowering. I realized that this wasn't just crossdressing, it was a dance of identity, a negotiation between who I was and who I was becoming. Sarah leaned back in her chair, studying me. "You're doing wonderfully," she said, her voice low and intimate. "I think you're ready for the next step." The next step was a video call with one of her friends, someone who had no idea about my secret. My heart pounded as Sarah explained the plan. I would appear as her girlfriend, chatting casually, maintaining composure, and responding naturally to questions. The idea of being observed by an outsider, even digitally, amplified my anxiety tenfold. As the call connected, I could feel the tension in my chest tighten. The screen lit up with her friend's smiling face, unaware of the persona I was about to present. Every word, every laugh, every gesture had to feel authentic. I sipped the wine Sarah poured, letting it calm my nerves, and focused on maintaining eye contact with the camera. The conversation flowed surprisingly well. I answered questions, laughed at jokes, and offered opinions, all while maintaining the feminine poise I had been practicing. Sarah's subtle nods of approval reassured me, but the suspense never fully lifted. What if I slipped? What if my voice cracked or my hands trembled? The stakes felt impossibly high, yet the thrill was undeniable. After the call ended, Sarah clapped softly.
"See?
You did amazing. You're getting the hang of this." I exhaled, feeling a mixture of relief and exhilaration. The experience had pushed me beyond my comfort zone, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of genuine pride. But the shadow of doubt lingered. How long before this secret identity would collide with the real world? How long before someone would see through the carefully constructed persona? Sarah suggested a small reward, a bubble bath to relax and unwind. As I sank into the warm water, I let my mind wander. The water embraced me like a gentle cocoon, soothing the tension in my muscles, yet my thoughts remained alert, scanning for potential threats to my secret. Every creak of the apartment, every passing siren outside reminded me that reality was still waiting beyond the door. The bath gave me a rare moment of reflection. I realized that the excitement and fear were intertwined in ways I hadn't expected. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological, a redefinition of boundaries and self-perception. Sarah's guidance had been instrumental, but the real test was internal. Could I reconcile these two versions of myself, the one known to the world and the one only Sarah and I shared? As I dried off and prepared for bed, Sarah handed me a new outfit for tomorrow. A more sophisticated dress, she said, one that would test both my elegance and confidence. My chest tightened at the thought, the suspense of what lay ahead keeping my heart racing. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, contemplating the day's events. The mix of triumph and fear had left me exhausted, yet strangely exhilarated. I knew tomorrow would push me further, challenge me in ways I hadn't imagined, and perhaps force me to confront aspects of myself I had never faced. And yet, despite the uncertainty, there was a thrill in it, a dangerous, intoxicating excitement that made my heart race even in the dark. I drifted into a restless sleep, knowing that the next day would test not just my ability to crossdress, but my courage, my identity, and the delicate balance of trust between Sarah and me. Morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the apartment. My body ached slightly from yesterday's tension, but my mind was already buzzing with anticipation. Today, Sarah had planned something even more challenging, a trip to a nearby boutique where I would have to interact with strangers as her girlfriend. The moment I saw the dress she had picked out for me, a sleek, navy blue wrap dress that hugged my frame, I felt a shiver of both excitement and apprehension. Sarah's smile was reassuring, yet there was a glint in her eyes that suggested she knew exactly how much this would push me. "This one will really test your confidence," she said softly. I hesitated, running my fingers over the fabric. The mirror reflected a version of myself I barely recognized. Delicate shoulders, a slim waist, the curves enhanced by the dress. My makeup was subtle but flawless, my hair styled neatly. Each detail felt deliberate, and I could feel the thrill of transformation coursing through me. Stepping outside, the city greeted us with the usual morning chaos. Cars honking, people rushing, the distant hum of life continuing regardless of my personal drama. Each step I took in my heels made me hyper-aware of my movements. The world felt larger somehow, the stakes higher. What if someone recognized me? What if my voice betrayed me? At the boutique, Sarah guided me through the aisles, encouraging me to engage with the staff. "Just be natural," she whispered. "You're confident, charming, you've got this." I nodded, forcing a calm smile, and approached a sales assistant. My voice, slightly higher pitched than normal, sounded foreign even to me. Yet as the conversation flowed, I realized I could navigate this world, albeit with heightened awareness. Each compliment I received made my heart race. Each glance at the mirror amplified my dual identity. Then, a familiar voice called my name. My heart skipped a beat. I turned to see Liam, my crush from work, standing near the entrance. He looked surprised, his eyes widening as he took in my appearance. Time seemed to slow. My pulse thundered in my ears. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table, giving me a subtle nod of reassurance. "Just smile and act normal," she murmured. I forced a casual wave, hoping my composure held. Liam approached, his expression shifting from surprise to curiosity and then a recognition. My chest tightened. Could he see through the persona I was trying so hard to maintain? Every instinct screamed that I should flee, hide, yet part of me thrilled at the attention. "Hey, is that really you?" Liam asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. I laughed softly, a high, delicate sound that seemed to startle me more than him. "Yeah, it's me," I admitted, trying to keep my tone light. The interaction was brief, but the impact was profound. Liam couldn't stop staring, his curiosity piqued, his expression unreadable. I felt a mixture of pride and fear. Pride that I could present myself so convincingly, and fear of what this new dynamic might mean. Sarah guided me away smoothly, her hand firm but gentle on my back. "You did amazing," she whispered once we were outside. "He's curious now, he won't forget this anytime soon." Walking back through the bustling streets, I replayed the encounter over and over in my mind. The thrill of being seen, yet remaining in control, ignited a fire I hadn't anticipated. Every step, every glance, every small gesture felt charged with tension and excitement. Returning to the apartment, Sarah suggested we celebrate my success with a quiet evening in. I sank onto the couch, still processing the adrenaline and suspense. The day had pushed me further than ever before, testing not just my appearance but my confidence, composure, and ability to maintain a secret identity under scrutiny. As night fell, I reflected on how quickly life could shift. One choice, one weekend, one risk, it had all led me here, standing at the intersection of fear and exhilaration. The realization struck me that my transformation wasn't just temporary, it was beginning to redefine who I was, how I moved through the world, and how others perceived me. Sarah leaned against the doorway, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of the lamp. "Ready for what's next?" she asked, a playful yet serious tone in her voice. I nodded, heart pounding, fully aware that tomorrow would bring even more challenges, more suspense, and a deeper dive into this thrilling, unsettling, and utterly intoxicating new life. The following morning, I woke with a strange mix of anticipation and dread. The previous day's encounter with Liam replayed endlessly in my mind. Every detail, The way he looked at me, the faint trace of surprise in his expression, left me feeling exposed yet exhilarated. Sarah's challenge had become far more personal than either of us anticipated. Today, she had something even bolder in mind, a visit to a high-end cafe where friends and colleagues occasionally gathered. The idea of interacting in a semi-public space with people who knew me as my boyfriend persona sent shivers down my spine. Sarah, however, seemed delighted at the thought. "It's time you see how confident you can really be," she said with a mischievous glint in her eyes. Choosing the outfit became a ritual in itself. Sarah selected a fitted pastel blouse, paired with a flowing skirt that moved gracefully with each step. She emphasized details, a delicate necklace, subtle makeup, and perfectly styled hair. I caught my reflection in the mirror and barely recognized myself. There was a quiet power in the way the outfit transformed me, a confidence I hadn't felt before. On the walk to the cafe, I tried to blend in, but every footstep was weighted with tension. What if someone recognized me? What if I slipped up and my secret life unraveled in a heartbeat? Yet, with every step, I also felt a strange thrill, a liberation in embracing this persona publicly, even in small doses. Inside the cafe, the atmosphere was lively but intimate. Patrons chatted, the barista called out orders, and laughter filled the air. Sarah guided me to a table near the window, her hand steadying mine. "Act natural," she whispered, but my heart raced with the weight of scrutiny. Moments passed, and I gradually relaxed, responding to smiles and casual greetings. Then my pulse quickened. There he was again. Liam. Sitting across the cafe, a table of friends with him, and yet his eyes locked on me. The surprise in his gaze transformed into something else. Curiosity, intrigue, maybe even admiration. I could feel my face flush, a mix of embarrassment and excitement. Sarah, ever perceptive, leaned in. "See? You're captivating." "He can't look away." Her words sent a mixture of pride and fear surging through me. Could I maintain this balance? Confidence without arrogance, charm without revealing too much? Every interaction felt like walking a tightrope. Over coffee, Liam's glances became more direct. I caught him observing the subtle sway of my skirt, the tilt of my head, the graceful way I sipped my drink. Each moment was a delicate dance of concealment and revelation, and I realized how much I was enjoying the attention, despite my earlier fears. When he finally approached our table, my chest tightened. "Hey, wow. I didn't expect to see you here like this," he said, his voice a mixture of astonishment and genuine curiosity. I forced a calm smile, meeting his gaze, careful not to betray my inner turmoil. Sarah's presence beside me was grounding yet exhilarating. She whispered, "Play it cool. Show him your confidence." I nodded, steadying my breath, feeling the thrill of being simultaneously exposed and empowered. The encounter was brief but loaded with tension, every word and gesture charged with unspoken curiosity. Liam's departure left me both relieved and exhilarated, my mind spinning with the implications of what had just happened. Sarah's smirk confirmed she had anticipated the outcome, her satisfaction evident. Back home, the adrenaline slowly ebbed, leaving a quiet reflection in its wake. The line between my old self and this emerging persona blurred more with each passing moment. One weekend, one challenge, one daring exposure. It had all changed me irrevocably. I realized that the stakes were no longer just about secrecy. They had evolved into a thrilling exploration of identity, confidence, and desire. And as Sarah suggested we prepare for the next challenge, I felt an intoxicating mix of fear and excitement, ready, more than ever, to dive deeper into this suspenseful, transformative journey. The evening arrived with a heavy tension in the air. Sarah had planned an intimate gathering at our apartment. A few of her friends were coming over, unaware of my secret. My heart pounded at the thought of interacting with them fully as my feminine persona. The stakes had never been higher. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the fit of my dress, smoothing my hair, and perfecting my makeup. Each movement felt exaggerated in the soft glow of the room, yet each adjustment was necessary. The heels I wore clicked against the floor, a rhythmic reminder of the delicate balance I had to maintain. Sarah appeared behind me, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You look incredible," she whispered, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Just be yourself, the confident, charming version I know." Her words were meant to soothe, yet the reality of what was about to happen sent a shiver down my spine. The doorbell rang, slicing through the quiet tension. I straightened, taking a deep breath, and opened the door. Her friend stepped in, and immediately, the atmosphere shifted. Their eyes scanned me, some with curiosity, some with subtle admiration, but none seemed to suspect the truth. My pulse raced, each interaction a tightrope walk. Conversation flowed, but I was hyper-aware of every glance, every gesture. Sarah introduced me seamlessly as her best friend for the weekend, and I played the role with meticulous care. Every laugh, every sip of wine, every casual comment required precision. The thrill of concealment mixed with the intoxicating feeling of attention made my senses sharpen. Then, an unexpected sound at the door made me freeze. Liam, standing there, casually, but with unmistakable recognition in his eyes. My chest tightened, and a wave of panic threatened to overtake me. How had he found out? Had Sarah somehow invited him? Or had he followed me? Sarah stepped in front of me, masking her own surprise with a calm smile. "Liam." "What a surprise," she said, her tone light but authoritative. I forced a smile, my mind racing for a way to navigate this encounter without unraveling everything. Liam's gaze locked on me, his eyes filled with a mixture of astonishment and fascination. He took a tentative step forward. "Wow, you look different," he said, carefully choosing his words. The casualness of his tone did nothing to calm the storm of anxiety within me. The room seemed to shrink around me, every heartbeat loud in my ears. I could feel the weight of every observer's glance, the precariousness of my secret hanging in the balance. Would one wrong word, one slip of emotion, betray the persona I had so carefully crafted? Sarah, sensing the rising tension, guided me gently. "Relax," she whispered. "You're doing amazing." Her hand on my back was a lifeline, a silent reminder that I wasn't alone in this high-stakes game. Liam moved closer, curiosity and intrigue evident in his every gesture. The proximity made my heart race, my pulse threatening to betray me. Yet, as he spoke, complimenting my appearance and mannerisms, I felt an unexpected surge of pride. I had transformed convincingly, not just physically, but emotionally, commanding attention and admiration. Suddenly, a clatter from the kitchen shattered the delicate equilibrium. One of Sarah's friends had knocked over a tray, sending glasses clinking to the floor. The noise startled me. My balance wobbled slightly in my heels, and for a brief, terrifying moment, I feared I would stumble, revealing the duality of my identity to everyone in the room. Sarah's swift intervention prevented disaster. "Careful," she called, helping steady me, her eyes flicking toward Liam with a subtle message. "Protect him, maintain the illusion." I laughed nervously, regaining composure, but the adrenaline continued to surge. Each interaction, each glance, each breath was charged with suspense. I realized that this night, this gathering, was not just a social test, it was a crucible, pushing me to the limits of confidence, charm, and secrecy. As the evening progressed, the tension did not ease. Every smile I offered, every conversation I navigated, was weighted with the risk of exposure. And yet, beneath the anxiety, there was a thrilling liberation in inhabiting this persona fully, commanding attention while concealing my true identity. The night had only just begun, and already, the stakes were higher than I had ever imagined. One misstep could unravel everything. Yet the exhilaration of the challenge, the intoxicating mix of fear and empowerment, kept me on the edge, poised, alert, and utterly transformed. The night wore on, and the tension inside me continued to mount. Each laugh, each clink of glasses, each casual glance from Liam reminded me of how precarious my secret truly was. I moved with careful grace, adjusting my posture, tilting my head just so, speaking with a tone that was warm and inviting, yet subtly controlled. Every gesture was a performance, a delicate dance between confidence and vulnerability. Sarah had positioned herself strategically, always nearby, subtly guiding the flow of conversation while maintaining her playful smirk. It was her challenge, yes, but I realized I was rising to it, thriving in this intense spotlight. I could feel the transformation deep within, beyond just makeup and skirts. It was a shift in how I carried myself, how I engaged with the world around me. Liam's attention never wavered. He leaned casually against the counter, casually chatting with Sarah's friends, but his eyes continually flicked to me. I caught glimpses of surprise, curiosity, and something I couldn't quite name, admiration, maybe even a hint of longing. Each glance made my pulse spike, a thrilling mix of anxiety and excitement. Then it happened. I accidentally brushed against the hem of my skirt while reaching for a glass, and for a split second, I feared it might snag or tear. My body froze, panic threatening to overtake me, but Sarah's quick hand steadied the fabric, and her calm whisper in my ear reminded me to breathe. "You've got this," she said. And just like that, the fear receded, replaced by a surge of determination. As the evening progressed, the stakes rose further when Liam finally approached, closer than before. You really pull this off," he said, voice low, almost hesitant. My heart raced. Every word, every tone mattered. I smiled, keeping my posture poised and eyes steady. "Thanks," I murmured, letting a slight blush accentuate my authenticity. A sudden noise startled me, a chair scraping against the floor. One of Sarah's friends had shifted abruptly, drawing attention momentarily away from me. But in that moment, I realized the precariousness of my situation. A single misstep could shatter the illusion I had carefully built over the evening. My hands trembled slightly, and I forced them to relax at my sides, focusing on each movement deliberately. Sarah noticed Liam inching closer, his curiosity now tinged with a question that lingered unspoken. "Careful," she whispered, touching my arm lightly. "Play cool. Remember, this is still a game." Her confidence radiated, reassuring me, and I felt my own courage grow. I found myself conversing with Liam directly, navigating the delicate balance between engaging him and maintaining the persona. Every laugh, every tilt of my head, every tilt of my hand was calculated but natural. I could feel the thrill of the moment building. The danger was intoxicating. I was no longer just Sarah's participant. I was inhabiting this role fully, and it was exhilarating. Then, without warning, a knock on the apartment door jolted us all. Sarah's friends exchanged glances, curiosity piqued, while my heart sank. Who could it be at this hour? Sarah moved toward the door confidently, signaling me to stay composed. My mind raced, another twist, another obstacle. The door opened, and in walked someone I did not expect, Liam's close friend, someone who knew me well in my boyfriend persona. Recognition flashed across his face, and a sharp pang of fear shot through me. I froze, my carefully constructed poise teetering on the edge of collapse. Sarah stepped in front of me subtly, her calm demeanor masking the storm of tension she must have felt. "Hey, come in," she said smoothly, her eyes flicking toward me with a quiet message, "Stay calm." My pulse thundered, adrenaline surging, but I forced a smile, meeting the new arrival's gaze with a controlled elegance I almost didn't know I possessed. Every word, every gesture in the room now carried weight. The challenge had escalated from an intimate test to a high-stakes exposure. Could I maintain my composure under this unanticipated scrutiny? Could I keep the secret that now felt so integral to my identity from unraveling entirely? The evening had transformed into a crucible, pushing me to the limits of confidence, charm, and secrecy. I realized that the thrill of being seen, admired, and yet maintaining control over my secret was intoxicating. The danger, the suspense, the intense emotional roller coaster. It had become an addiction. And as I navigated the room, engaging both Liam and his friend while keeping Sarah's friends entertained, I felt a profound shift. The line between my old self and this emerging persona was blurring. I wasn't just playing a part. I was becoming the person I had glimpsed in the mirror. Confident, alluring, and dangerously compelling. The room seemed to constrict around me, every heartbeat loud in my ears as I continued the delicate dance of conversation and charm. Liam's friend had taken a seat, his eyes darting toward me occasionally, suspicious but intrigued. The tension was palpable, electric, and each movement I made felt magnified. Sarah, ever the orchestrator, subtly guided interactions, diverting attention when necessary. Her fingers brushed lightly against my arm, a silent lifeline, grounding me amid the storm of scrutiny. I smiled, laughed, and spoke with a calmness I didn't feel, each gesture deliberate, each word carefully measured. As the night deepened, I noticed subtle shifts in Liam's attention. His eyes lingered, not just with curiosity, but with something more, a fascination that bordered on admiration. Every compliment, every fleeting touch of his gaze, sent a shiver down my spine. My secret life was teetering on the edge, thrilling and terrifying all at once. Then came the moment that would define the night. Liam, emboldened, leaned in closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "I can't believe how convincing you are," he murmured, his tone a mixture of awe and subtle teasing. My heart skipped a beat, panic and exhilaration colliding. I maintained eye contact, a soft smile playing on my lips, but inside, adrenaline surged. A sudden crash from the kitchen startled everyone. One of Sarah's friends had accidentally knocked over a decorative vase. I stumbled slightly in my heels, my balance wavering. For a fleeting second, fear gripped me. Would this minor slip reveal the duality I had worked so hard to conceal? Sarah's quick intervention steadied me, her reassuring whisper cutting through my panic. "Breathe. You're doing perfectly." The evening continued, each interaction escalating the suspense. Liam's fascination grew more apparent. His glances lingered longer, and I felt the intoxicating mix of validation and fear. Could I maintain this facade under such scrutiny? Could I keep my secret intact while navigating the emotional storm brewing between us? Then, a subtle but alarming shift occurred. Liam's friend, who had been observing quietly, suddenly leaned forward, a questioning look on his face. "Wait, you're not, are you?" His words hung in the air, a threat to the delicate balance I had maintained. My pulse quickened, and the room seemed to narrow further, the walls closing in. Sarah's eyes flicked toward me, her expression a mixture of challenge and reassurance. "Stay calm," she whispered, her hand resting lightly on my back. I nodded, forcing my nerves into composure, and responded with a casual laugh, deflecting suspicion with charm. "Just trying something new for fun," I said, my tone light but deliberate. Every muscle in my body was taut with tension. I felt the weight of eyes on me, the delicate equilibrium of perception and reality hanging by a thread. One misstep, one misjudged word, and my secret life could unravel completely. Yet, beneath the fear, there was a powerful thrill. I had never felt so alive, so keenly aware of every sensation, every glance, every whispered word. The night's climax approached with a sudden knock at the door. Sarah's friends turned, startled, while I froze, heels clicking slightly against the floor. The visitor was unknown, and uncertainty wrapped around me like a vice. Sarah's eyes met mine, conveying a silent message: maintain control, stay composed. When the door opened, a delivery person entered, holding a large package. Relief washed over me, but only briefly. I realized how close I had come to exposure, how thin the line between discovery and concealment had been. My heart pounded as I signed for the package, each breath deliberate, each movement controlled. The evening wound down, but the tension never fully eased. The close encounters, the delicate balance of secrecy and revelation, and the intoxicating thrill of inhabiting my crossdressing persona had transformed me. I was no longer merely Sarah's weekend bestie. I had become someone fully confident, alluring, and dangerous in my dual existence. As the night drew to a close, I caught a final glance in the mirror, my reflection a blend of fear, exhilaration, and pride. I had survived the test, navigated the suspenseful interactions, and emerged transformed, not just in appearance, but in self-assurance and identity. The thrill of the evening lingered, promising that my journey into this new life was only just beginning. The room had settled into a precarious rhythm, but I could feel the tension simmering just beneath the surface. Every laugh, every glance, every movement of Sarah's friends was a reminder of the delicate web I was navigating. My body moved fluidly, my voice calm and measured, but inside, my heart hammered with adrenaline. Liam's eyes continued to find mine, lingering with curiosity and something more, a fascination I had never experienced before. Every subtle smile, every playful tilt of my head felt like a test, pushing the boundaries of what I could control. I realized that this game was no longer just about following Sarah's challenge. It had become a proving ground for my own confidence and self-expression. Then came the most dangerous moment yet. One of Sarah's friends, slightly tipsy and playful, leaned toward me with a teasing grin. "I bet you couldn't pull this off in public," she said, her tone light but probing. My pulse spiked, a surge of fear mixed with excitement. Could I maintain the illusion if we were suddenly in a more public or vulnerable setting? I smiled demurely, keeping my posture impeccable, and replied with casual charm, "Maybe, but it would be fun to try, don't you think?" Her laughter rippled through the room, and I felt a surge of relief, but also the subtle thrill of being admired without fully revealing myself. Liam's gaze sharpened, a mixture of intrigue and desire that made my stomach twist. Each look from him felt like a mirror reflecting both my secret and my newfound persona. Sarah moved strategically, guiding conversations, diverting attention, and occasionally offering me small, reassuring touches. Her confidence was infectious, bolstering my own resolve. I realized that I was no longer just performing for her amusement. I was performing for myself, discovering the intoxicating power of control, elegance, and allure. Suddenly, a sharp sound pierced the room, a glass tipping over, narrowly avoiding a spill on the carpet. The snap of breaking crystal jolted everyone, and for a heartbeat, I feared it would unravel everything. I steadied myself quickly, adjusting my skirt and posture, my pulse racing. Sarah's calm hand on my arm reminded me to breathe. "You've got this," she whispered. But the real twist came when Liam, emboldened by the evening's events, stepped closer, lowering his voice just for me. "I've never seen anyone pull this off. It's like you're a completely different person," he murmured. My pulse thundered, my cheeks warmed, and I forced a soft smile. "Thanks, that's all in the confidence," I replied, letting the subtle flutter of excitement show in my eyes. Then, unexpectedly, the doorbell rang. The sudden sound froze me in place, a jolt of anxiety and suspense shooting through my body. Sarah's friends exchanged startled glances, and my mind raced. Another unexpected obstacle. Sarah's eyes met mine, conveying silent instructions: stay poised, remain in control. The visitor turned out to be a neighbor, checking in for a brief chat. Relief washed over me, but only momentarily. I realized how close I had come to exposure tonight, how fragile the balance between secrecy and revelation truly was. Every interaction, every glance, every misstep could tip the scale. As the evening wound down, I felt a profound transformation within myself. This wasn't just about crossdressing or fulfilling Sarah's playful challenge anymore. It was about owning a side of me I had never dared to explore. The thrill of secrecy, the intoxicating attention, and the sense of control over my own identity had reshaped me in ways I couldn't have anticipated. By the time Sarah's friends began to leave, the apartment hummed with residual tension and excitement. Liam lingered a moment longer, his eyes holding a mixture of admiration and curiosity that sent shivers through me. I realized that tonight had not only tested my ability to maintain a secret, but had also revealed a deeper layer of who I could be when I embraced this side of myself fully. The night had reached its peak tension, and every moment felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm of exposure. Liam's lingering gaze, Sarah's quiet guidance, and the subtle but constant awareness of everyone else's scrutiny combined into a cocktail of exhilaration and fear. I felt every heartbeat, every breath, every movement with an intensity one had never experienced before. Then it happened, a sudden knock at the door, more insistent this time. My stomach twisted. Who could it be at this hour? Panic flared, but Sarah's calm hand on my shoulder steadied me. "Remember, stay composed," she whispered. I nodded, adjusting my skirt and posture, trying to appear casual while every nerve in my body screamed with tension. The door opened to reveal Liam's friend from earlier, now standing in the doorway with a curious, slightly mischievous smile. "I had to see if it was true," he said, letting his gaze sweep over me. My heart pounded violently. Could he sense the truth? My pulse quickened, and for a fleeting second, I feared total exposure. Sarah stepped forward smoothly, her presence commanding attention. "We're just finishing up," she said, her voice firm but friendly. "Come in, don't be shy." I took a deep breath, channeling the poise and confidence I had cultivated over the evening. Every step I took was deliberate, every movement controlled, projecting the persona I had embraced. As the conversation continued, the thrill and anxiety intertwined. Liam's friend's questions were probing but polite, and I found myself responding with charm and wit, deflecting curiosity while showcasing the elegance and confidence I now possessed. The subtle power of my crossdress persona was intoxicating. I realized that I wasn't just hiding a secret. I was captivating attention, shaping perception, and commanding presence in a way I had never imagined. Then came the symbolic moment, the mirror. Across the room, a tall mirror reflected my image back at me. The skirt, the carefully applied makeup, the heels, and the confident posture. For a heartbeat, I saw not just the reflection of the person I was pretending to be, but the person I had become. Vulnerable yet empowered, anxious yet thrillingly alive, I felt a surge of emotion. The reflection was a reminder of the duality I had embraced, the transformation I had undergone, and the new identity I had begun to own. The tension escalated further when Liam's attention shifted subtly, his expression a mixture of admiration and longing. Every glance sent shivers down my spine. I felt the delicate balance of secrecy and revelation teetering. One wrong word, one misstep, and the entire carefully maintained facade could collapse. Yet, amidst the fear, there was exhilaration, a recognition that I had crossed a threshold, emerging more self-assured and daring than ever before. Suddenly, the faint sound of a phone alert startled me. Sarah's friends glanced around, and my pulse spiked. Was it a message from someone who could expose me? My hands trembled slightly as I fumbled for my own phone, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. But it was just a harmless notification. Relief washed over me, and with it came a renewed sense of thrill. I was still in control, still commanding this dual existence with elegance and precision. As the night drew to a close, the apartment settled into a quiet, almost intimate atmosphere. Liam lingered, casting occasional glances that spoke volumes. Sarah's approving smile reminded me of the guidance and support that had carried me through the suspenseful evening. I realized that tonight had changed everything, not just how others perceived me, but how I perceived myself. I was no longer merely Sarah's weekend bestie. I had discovered a power, a confidence, and an allure within myself that I had never tapped into before. The night had tested me, challenged me, and ultimately transformed me in ways I could never have anticipated. My secret life had become an integral part of my identity, thrilling, dangerous, and intoxicating all at once. And yet, even as the evening ended, uncertainty lingered. Liam's fascination, the probing curiosity of others, and the delicate balance of my double life promised that the journey was far from over. The thrill, the suspense, and the transformation had only just begun, leaving me eager and apprehensive for the next chapter. The apartment had finally quieted down. Sarah's friends had left, and the soft hum of the city outside filled the spaces between the remaining silence. I sank onto the couch, heels clicking lightly against the wooden floor, and took a deep, steadying breath. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye. There I was, poised, elegant, and entirely transformed. The thrill of the night still pulsed through me, but now a creeping uncertainty began to settle in. Sarah approached, her expression warm yet unreadable. "You handled everything perfectly tonight," she said, her hand brushing against mine. I felt the electricity of her touch, the subtle reassurance she offered, and yet a small voice in my mind whispered caution. How long could I maintain this balance between who I was and who I had become tonight? The soft ping of a notification broke my focus. I glanced at my phone. A message from Liam. My heart skipped a beat. "We need to talk. I can't stop thinking about tonight." The words, simple as they were, ignited a storm of emotions, excitement, fear, and a deep, unspoken anxiety. What did he mean? Was he aware of more than I had revealed? Sarah noticed my glance and arched an eyebrow, curiosity flickering across her face. "Liam?" she asked lightly. I swallowed, unsure how to respond. Could I tell her what this message meant? Could I even fully explain the tension I felt? Or would that unravel everything I had so carefully constructed tonight? Before I could respond, another sound shattered the moment, a knock at the door, firm and insistent. My pulse raced. Sarah's eyes widened ever so slightly. "Who could that be at this hour?" she murmured. I rose, every nerve on edge, and cautiously approached the door. Each step echoed in the apartment, each beat of my heart a thunderous drum. I opened the door just a crack, peering out into the dimly lit hallway. A shadow lingered, someone standing there in the darkness. My breath caught. It was Liam, alone, his expression unreadable but intense. "We need to talk," he said again, his voice low, almost urgent. My stomach twisted. Did he suspect everything? Had he seen through my carefully maintained facade? Sarah moved behind me, placing a hand on my shoulder, her presence a grounding force. "I'll handle this," she whispered, but I shook my head, my instincts screaming that this moment was mine alone to navigate. The weight of the night, the transformation, the secrets, the thrill, had come to a head, and now it was only a matter of how the next moments would unfold. Liam stepped closer, and I could see the faintest glint of curiosity and something more in his eyes. "I can't stop thinking about you tonight," he confessed, his tone trembling slightly, revealing a vulnerability I hadn't expected. Every instinct in me screamed to maintain composure, to hold the line between who I was and who I had become. Yet the raw honesty of his words stirred something deep within me, a thrill, a fear, and a longing I couldn't ignore. Sarah's hand tightened briefly on my shoulder before she let go, stepping back with a knowing smile. "I'll leave you two to figure it out," she said, her tone teasing yet supportive. And just like that, I was alone with the consequences of my own transformation, the secret I had embraced, the persona I had fully become, and the undeniable tension that now hung between Liam and me. I looked down at myself, at the heels, the skirt, the carefully applied makeup, and the reflection of confidence I had claimed for myself. The duality of my existence, the line between the boy I had been and the girl I had become, felt sharper than ever. My pulse quickened. Could I maintain this identity under scrutiny? Could I navigate the complex web of attraction, secrecy, and self-discovery without losing control? Liam stepped closer, and I felt the magnetic pull of his attention, the unspoken questions in his eyes, and the electric tension of the unknown. My fingers grazed the edge of my skirt, a subtle gesture of both nervousness and defiance. The room felt smaller, the air thicker, as the anticipation of what was to come settled in. Every nerve in my body was alive, alert, trembling with the suspense of what might happen next. And then, as I opened my mouth to speak, the scene froze, the weight of the night, the secrets, the transformation, and the uncharted future all hanging in the balance. Would Liam discover everything? Would Sarah's playful challenge spiral into something irreversible? Or had I truly found a way to embrace this new identity while keeping the delicate balance intact? The story ended here, not with answers, but with possibilities. A single moment suspended in time, a cliffhanger that left every emotion raw, every heartbeat loud, and every thought racing. The next step, the next revelation, the next challenge. Everything was still ahead, and nothing was certain.